Moments ago, and before the conference begins, I spoke to Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who's been a very vocal supporter of Cheney. Congressman, thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
You bet.
You unleashed really just a blistering critique of your colleagues on Twitter this morning. I wonder, at this conference, are you going to speak to your colleagues directly, and what will you say?
Yeah, maybe. It depends. I mean, people know how I feel. I think it seems like the die is kind of cast. If I do end up speaking, it's just like, look, I'm reminding people that, what do you think the history books are going to say? I mean, we know that history has a way of getting it right. And if you think history is going to read that the election was stolen and Kevin McCarthy was right, then vote, to remove Liz Cheney. But keep in mind, you may win a temporary victory, but in the long term, she's going to be seen heroically. So defend her. And I expect her to lose today, but this is the beginning, really, of just a further fight for the soul of the party.
You've been particularly critical of House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, as you mentioned there. You tweeted last night that he's a, quote, employee of Donald Trump. This morning, you say that he effectively revived Trump after January 6th. Does he deserve to be the leader of Republicans in the House?
Well, I don't think so. I think, it's obvious that most Republicans think he does. I actually think it's interesting. So after January 6th, I thought it was his leadership should be challenged. Somehow, people went on offense against Liz, like the one person telling the truth. Look, and this is especially heartbreaking because I was friends with Kevin, but I always saw him as somebody that was willing to do the right thing. And all of a sudden, when we had an insurrection, Jim, like an insurrection with violence and people that have died, and I've been begging Kevin, to look at Officer Fanone's body cam and to talk to him, and he won't do it because the politics is so important. That's not the party that I'm a huge believer in. So for me, I don't think he should be, but he is at the moment.
Is Kevin McCarthy lying to the American people and his own conference about the events of January 6th, but also the 2020 election?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's, for him to go on TV after the election and say this election was stolen. I mean, he said that on one news channel. I know for a fact, that it wasn't. And I think the thing is we have to recognize that the Republicans that believe it was stolen, we can't be mad at them because all of their leaders are telling them that. So what do you expect if everybody you respect is telling you that? So for us, we owe it to the people that follow us to tell them the truth. And unfortunately, it's just much easier to lie and go along with it.
In her floor speech last night, Liz Cheney went further, beyond saying the party's endorsing the big lie. She says that the party is abandoning the rule of law and, in effect, abandoning democratic principles. I wonder if you go that far. Do you agree with her?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, look, what is it that we're saying? We're saying elections don't work. We're saying that you can just take the crazy rantings of one man and declare it to be so. So that is a huge violation of the rule of law. As Liz had said yesterday, when the court speaks, if you go against the court, that is a violation of the rule of law. Look, there's enough blame to go around in a bunch of parties, but as Republicans, we are the only party that threatened democracy at the beginning of January. Yes, the riots in the summer were bad. I worked them as a guardsman. But that didn't ever threaten to topple democracy like January did. We have to take inventory and ownership of that. Then we can move forward and focus on the future.
You have tweeted that you warned McCarthy and others before January 6th about the potential for violence and that he, in effect, ignored you. I wonder, do you believe that by continuing to endorse and defend the big lie that McCarthy and other members of your party are laying the groundwork for more violence?
I think potentially. Now, I'm not going to directly blame them on anything. I don't know how that's going to go, but I will say that when you tell, 74 million Americans that the election was stolen, that their vote didn't count, that democracy doesn't work, and in some cases, the QAnon lie of a Satanist pedophiles running the government. If you truly believe that, by the way, what happened on January 6th isn't that far of a stretch. I mean, because if that's truly the case, it's logical. And that's what happens when you continue to push the big lie, because something like that could happen again.
Yeah, listen, but by the way, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory led to a gunman to go to that pizza place where my son had his birthday party, right? I mean, this stuff happens. When we spoke in late January in the wake of January 6th, the insurrection, you said you didn't know for sure if the Republican Party was still the party for you. These months later, where do you stand now? Do you believe you still belong inside or outside the party?
Well, the problem is there's, outside of the party in a two-party system, that's the Democrats or, independents. And I still believe in conservative values. I'm a conservative. I was a Republican before Donald Trump. So I still am fighting for the soul of this party. But I'll tell you, we're seeing some positive signs among the base kind of waking up to the reality. But leadership hasn't been. So we're going to give it a lot of time, fight for it, and, someday we'll see what happens.
As you know, and the New York Times reporting this as well now, that there is an effort of some Republicans, more than 100 Republicans, are threatening to form a third party. Is it better to battle, in your view, within the party, as it appears Liz Cheney wants to do, or to leave the party and start over?
Look, for me personally, it's fighting for the soul of the party, just because I think the party's going to be here for a long time. And, really the system's built for two parties. I also give credit to people for trying to start something else. Like, if you feel unrepresented, which a lot of Americans do, they're not far leftist, they're not, what the Republican Party is, you have a right to be represented. So for me, I'm going to fight in the soul of the party, but I commend anybody, for standing up and saying we deserve to be represented too. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, we appreciate you joining the show this morning. You bet. Thanks.